What's up, IDP Army? It's me again, Jordan Rains at 50 Shades of Drunk. Today's show is going to be a stream, so I'll probably be a little bit more chill than usual. Definitely be fielding questions from anybody that is in the comments section on YouTube, or if you are watching on Twitter. I don't know if you can comment anymore on Twitter, like the stream, but if you hop into the chat on YouTube, I'll answer your questions. But today's show, we are going to be going over an IDP Dynasty Fantasy Football mock draft that Mace and the guys in the Discord did a couple days ago. They finished it up. Just taking a look at it. Really good mock draft. High quality guys in there making good picks. So I just kind of went through and I was originally in one of the first mocks we did. That ended up not working out, and I missed the second one. So I'm not actually even in this mock draft. But I did go through and look at everybody's teams. So I'm going to bring it up here in just a second. Comment on the teams, break down, who I thought some of the best picks were, who some values were that we're seeing right now, and just kind of understanding how mock draft or fantasy boards are going to break down, and this is just IDP, but in offense and defense mixed, you're going to end up getting similar sort of value propositions or understandings from people that know IDP. So maybe the rounds won't be completely accurate, but I think the value that the guys in this draft put on these players probably going to be pretty similar to what you're going to see in any drafts that you do. Also trying something new out today. I got some background music going. I don't know, it's just kind of boring listening to myself, or not listening to myself, but the noise in the background. So all right, so here I'm just going to tell you what we're going to do when I pull this team up. I'm going to pull it up in like 1 minute. Basically, I'm going to go through and tell you who my favorite picks were by every single team, and then who my least favorite picks were by them, and then kind of just break down why I thought that. Just give some context. So, see, we got a couple comments coming in already. What's up? It's good to be on the back on the YouTube comment live stream live. Got Devin White and Rowe, linebacker 1 and 2. Who's a good target? Add room. Let's go ahead and jump into this draft. I'll definitely field questions, like I said, but I want to add this draft here. All right. So here's the draft board that they did. This is a mock draft. It was a 10-team Dynasty IDP only mock draft. Thank you, Mace, for putting this together. If y'all want to be involved in any of these, you're more than welcome to join our Discord. Mace is running these. I think we have 1 or 2 going right now. We're going to run them all off season. They're a fun practice to get into, and this is a high-quality draft board. Like I said, I looked at it, and like any draft board, there's players here and there that maybe I didn't love or like, but let's just go ahead and I want to talk about the first round first, all right? So before we even kind of go into Mace is saying, hit him up, guys. Before we even get into the teams, let's talk about this number 1 overall pick, Micah Parsons. I think that's where we're at right now. I think Micah Parsons is the number 1 overall pick, should be the number 1 overall pick. Came back this year, more sacks than his rookie season. He has that high floor for a linebacker that you love to see, but he gets a lot of edge snaps. So he's in that mindset, kind of like a Hassan Reddick, even a Josh Allen for the Jaguars, type of guy that the tackles are really going to help boost him, but on top of that, he's an effective pass rusher, and he might be he's one of the best edge rushers in the league. So I think Micah Parsons has usurped TJ Watt as that number 1 guy just based on age and the similar sort of things that they do. So I like that he was the number 1 overall pick in this draft by Losos. Good by him. Number 2 with Nick Bosa, fair. TJ Watt, fair. Roquan Smith, fair. I'm not going to argue with any of those players in that spot. They're all tier 1 guys. Myles Garrett, even. I don't love taking Myles Garrett there in that first round, but that's fine. Love to see Olakun getting his respect. Max Crosby up here in this first round. Nick Bolton into the first round, pick 108. 109, Devin White, and number 10, Fred Warner. So, first round looks pretty great until you get to that number 10 spot, Fred Warner. Fred Warner's never had a top 12 linebacker season finish ever in his whole life. So I don't know how he gets picked in the top 10 of IDP here, but that's fine. I mean, if you love Fred Warner, if you love the 49ers, I'm not going to poo-poo that. Like, take Fred Warner, that's fine. You could have taken a lot better players there, in my opinion, and Fred Warner is not worthy of being even one of the first 25 to 30 IDP players taken, in my opinion. But we'll save that for a little later down the road. Anybody stand out to anybody here? Let me know what your comments are. But I'm just going to go ahead and go through, like I said, now that we did the first round, pretty chalky in my opinion. A lot of those guys are, or all those guys are tier 1 players for me in the index. Olakun is not. Nick Bolton is not. They're right outside of tier 1. They're in tier 2. Probably end up moving them up into tier 1 here soon. As we make adjustments and really look into things. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you kind of how I view the best player and the worst player on each of these teams. We'll start with the number 1 team right above me. Now with Losos, he ended up, and he had 2 picks that were, I said my favorite, my least favorite. My favorite pick was Micah Parsons. I like that he took Micah Parsons number 1, kind of just getting that out of the way. I don't want to have that conversation because I just feel like it is what it is at this point. You either get it or you don't. Now, his worst pick, in my opinion, or the pick I didn't, none of these are like bad picks. These are good NFL players, so don't, make it sound like I hate them. But I think Joey Bosa at the 104 was probably not a super wise decision. Joey Bosa has struggled with injuries pretty much in perpetuity. Yeah, he has had a couple of seasons where he's played the whole season. That's great. But, at 27 years old, there's so much left to be desired, it feels like, every season from Joey Bosa. And the really telling thing at this point is, the guy can barely hit double-digit sacks. 10.5 is his career high. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He had 11.5 in 2019. I'm looking here in the index. That's it. I'm sorry. He had 12.5 in 2017. Jeez, he's been around for a while. But that's his highest. It seems like his ceiling and his floor are just kind of the same, 10 to 12 sacks. And that's if everything goes right. You know what I mean? And things rarely go right for Joey Bosa. Now, granted, this season he did put up 0.32 points per snap, but he only played 165 snaps. Again, we're getting a little bit older here. And it's just, I don't know. Last season on almost 900 snaps, the dude only had 5 tackles for loss. The season before that, he had 15 tackles for loss, and he played 550 snaps. Like, he's just so all over the place in what he does on the field, in his health. Even his social media presence is kind of, funny. I don't know. He's just at 104, at the 104 here, or what was this pick go? 410 rather. I just don't love it. I don't love it, Joey Bosa. I think that you could have just let him go to somebody else. So that's my least favorite pick for team 1. Team 2, who did I love? Who did I hate? And again, this isn't about hate. It's just who did I dislike. I disliked on this team, and I'm just going to go in the order that they're in for the top player, but Chase Young. I think Chase Young here in the second round is just, one, is too high to take a defensive line player in general, unless he's an uber god, like Nick Bosa, like Max Crosby, like TJ Watt. Chase Young, we know about Chase Young is he's not an uber god. We've watched him play football the last few years. He's struggled, that's just the hard, the long and the short of it, shall we say. He just has struggled on the field. I think that taking him this high was just not a great pick at the 102. Let him fall down. If you get him the 4th, 5th, somewhere like that, sure, I might take a shot on him based on the name value, but you're not going to get much production back on Chase Young, or I don't think he's going to return the value there. That's a little too high for me. And then to go back-to-back defensive line players too, I don't know how I feel about that. But next pick, completely made up for. I love the Patrick Queen pick. I've been hot and cold on Patrick Queen, but he's overall, the snaps went up to a number we like this year, went well over 1,000. So that's the first time in his career he did that. Impact plays are intact. He's been an impact player, but he got his tackle numbers up too. So to get Patrick Queen, I do like that if you did go DL here, he was able to essentially secure a player that looks like he's got a runway in front of him as a top end linebacker for a few years, 2, 3, 4 years ahead, and maybe probably even more. So we're going to move to the number 3 spot. This is Josh Hall. Josh took TJ Watt number 1, or his first round pick. Love that for him, because I'm a TJ Watt guy. But let's go ahead and talk about the picks that I think this third team, Josh, I didn't love. I did not love the Josh Sweat pick in what round is that? The 6th round. I just think that's a little high for Josh Sweat. He's a replacement level defensive line player, essentially an IDP and on the field anymore, it feels like. And just based on the quality of players that I saw going rounds after that, Sam Hubbard, same team, went around later than that. Let's see here, Gregory Rousseau, Montez Sweat, multiple rounds later than that. You can go even further if you want to go way, way down, Jeffrey Simmons, Mace took him in, was that the 10th round? I feel like when you can get players like that, they're very similar in what they're going to give you with a time horizon, with a week-to-week season upside, week-to-week upside and season-long upside. I just think that Josh Sweat here was a bad pick. Now, I'll caveat that, and I love Josh. Josh is hilarious and funny. He's an Eagles fan. So I will caveat that by saying if you want to take the guys that you like and put them on your Dynasty fantasy football team, power to you. All right. Because the worst feeling in the world is having your guy go off on somebody else's team. There's no worse feeling in fantasy football than when your guy goes off on somebody else's team. All right. Trust me. Because that's almost worse than losing. Because it's like you quit or gave up. You know what I'm saying? So Josh rides for his guys like a true Eagles fan, true scum of the earth. No, I'm just kidding. True Eagles fan out here doing what he does. Makes Josh Sweat a highly drafted player. Good for him. Now, the pick that I did love for Josh was Tracy Walker, which you can see right here, down here near the bottom. Tracy Walker. People forget, Tracy Walker is a leader of this defense for the Lions, and part of the reason they struggled early on is because Tracy Walker went out pretty early in the season, and they had to kind of figure out who that leader was that wasn't Tracy Walker. So I like that Josh got him very late here. He's not going away in the NFL. I don't think he's going away on this Lions team either. Last couple of years, Tracy Walker has been one of the better points per snap and just overall safeties in the NFL. I'm going to try to pull up his production profile here real quick in the index. Just take a peek here. Yeah, I mean, even this season, on 140 snaps, Tracy Walker, 0.3 points per snap. He managed to have a tackle for loss. He had a pass deflection. I mean, guy had a sack this year, too. Didn't play that much. Go back to last season, 0.25 points per snap. Love to see that. Season before that, 0.24. Those are rock solid numbers for a safety. The season before that, 0.27. So he's putting up essentially points per snap numbers similar to a quality linebacker at the defensive back position. Josh sneaking him onto his roster late here. Totally redeeming for the fact that he reached way too much for Josh Sweat. But we live and we learn. And on that note, I haven't looked at this total. I don't think I saw him on this board anywhere. But where's Javon Hargraves? Come on, Josh. You're gonna take Sweat and you're just gonna leave Hargraves out here? I don't think anyone took him. You're not a real fan, Josh. All right, moving on to the fourth team. This is Mace's team. This was one of my favorite teams of the whole draft. I will tell you guys who the winner and the loser of the draft was, in my opinion, here after I go through everybody's teams. But let's go ahead and talk about Mace's team here. This is team from the pick 104. Starts out his team with Roquan Smith. Great value there. Again, this is a dynasty draft. Roquan Smith is going to be around for a while. But I think that my favorite pick by Mace in this draft was that he took George Karlaftis here, and he got him pretty there he is. He got him in the 6th round. Now, that was his first defensive line player, but it wasn't Hassan Reddick because he's a linebacker and defensive line player. But George Karlaftis, rookie year this year, was pretty good for the Chiefs. It wasn't a total mind melter or anything. But the thing we like about Karlaftis is the door for him to play a lot more and to continue to ascend is wide open, because the Chiefs pass rushers are Frank Clark, who, again, literally only plays real hard football in January, apparently. I mean, I literally don't remember seeing him make a single play in the regular season. And I swear on every defensive drive, he's like, chasing a quarterback deep in it's ridiculous. The Frank Clark story. Also, what happened with didn't he get caught with like an AK-47 doing like 100 miles an hour in a Lambo in LA? Like, what happened with that? I don't know. He sounds like a really fun guy to hang out with. But let's get to George Karlaftis. Young, first year on the team, played a pretty decent number of snaps, honestly, which you love to see, 730. He did get the start in all 17 games. 8 tackles for loss, 6 sacks. There's a lot of room to go up. And with Frank Clark probably on the way out, like I just said, Carlos Dunlap, who we got as a mercenary guy, probably on his way out as well. George Karlaftis, is really just set up to mature into the pass rusher that the Chiefs use primarily. Like the numbers that I see here, 33 combined tackles, would like that number to go up a lot. But I do love that he had 7 pass deflections. So it's, again, one of these things you see in these new breed defensive linemen, and even some of the guys we talked to at the Senior Bowl talked about this. They were like, it's more than getting to the quarterback. It's more than the sacks that I bring. And I love that mindset. They're like, we want to force turnovers. We want to get the ball. We want to get the ball. They're thinking of ways to get the ball, not just get the quarterback. And that's apparent. A rookie comes out, he has 7 pass deflections. That's a lot for any player in the NFL, let alone a defensive lineman. 7 pass deflections, 6 sacks, and 8 tackles for loss. All of those plays stop the football from going forward, and many of them move the line of scrimmage backwards. Pretty good stuff there for George Karlaftis. So I love that Mace took a shot on him as the guy he's going to develop on that team as his defensive line player. The player that I did not like that Mace took, and this isn't like I didn't like it, but it's just like I was like, not really sure how I feel about that. Dexter Lawrence, D-tackle, a little older. Again, where's Javon Hargraves? We have some other guys out here that maybe needed a little love, didn't get it. I know Dexter Lawrence is getting a late push on the Twitter sphere, and I understand it. He's not a bad pick per se, but it's just not the guy that I would have taken there. And then, you juxtapose that with, he gets Jeffrey Simmons right after that, who's probably a better pick and worth reaching for over him. So I'm not in love with the Dexter Lawrence pick. All right, so we've gone through the first 4 teams. Let's go ahead and just keep on rolling. Like I said, this is an IDP Dynasty mock draft that Mace and the guys did the other day. If you want to be part of one of these in the future or now, there's one happening literally right now. Join our Discord, link somewhere. You'll find it. Text me, DM me, what else? All right, so let's move on to team number 5. So team number 5, favorite pick and least favorite pick. Okay, so you guys probably already know where I'm going to go with my least favorite pick, but I just think Myles Garrett is just not a great pick. Is he a tier 1 defender? Yes. Does he have a huge name value? Yes. Is he a great NFL player? Yes. He's also 27 years old. Okay. I mean, this is a real thing. And 16 sacks this year, highest he's ever had in his career, right? 16 this year, 16 the year before. Points per snap, this was the highest points per snap of his career at 0.33. But it's just, to me, it's not that I don't love this pick. I actually really probably should like it more than I do. But if you go back, and I'm in the index right now on Myles Garrett's production profiles, and you go back his entire career, this is points per snap through his career. 0.26, 0.23, 0.28, 0.28, 0.31, 0.33. He's gotten better, and he's finally 0.33. Those are elite numbers, okay? That's the kind of numbers you want from a first-round defensive line player if you're going to take one. My problem with this, and it's not really a problem, but it's just I just want to show people, like, this is basically where Myles Garrett has been picked every single year in Dynasty startups in perpetuity since the dawn of when he entered the league as one of the top guys. Is he worth it now? Looks like it. 0.33 points is a good number. In the past, 0.28, 0.23, whatever the fuck those other numbers were, those were not first-round Dynasty draft pick numbers, all right? So I will cede this a little bit. I don't love it because I love it because it is the right pick now, but I don't love it because it feels like it's almost like an automatic thing that just happens. But again, do you love Myles Garrett? Put him on your team. And if you ever pick a good time to draft him, now's the time to do it. I mean, like I said, 18 tackles for loss this year. That's more than last year where he had 17. He had fewer quarterback hits this year, same number of sacks, knocked down a few passes this year as well, 4 of those. So again, becoming a little bit more of a dynamic defender. Production profile is showing that. If you guys aren't in the index, get in there. His production profile is actually really interesting to look at. And I just read his points per snap. I wasn't even looking at his impact play rate has actually gone up quite a bit every year as well. So you love to see that, he is developing into that guy. And I guess maybe saying I hated that pick was kind of rude. I don't hate that pick, but just wanted to bring that up. The next pick, though, the one that I love was that he got Javon Holland here, defensive back for the Miami Dolphins, getting him in the double-digit rounds down here at round 10. And he was your 3rd defensive back. So you were able to get a rock-solid veteran in Kevin Byard, a rock-solid veteran in Jesse Bates, guys that play the safety position that are going to be around even if they leave the teams they're on now, they're going to be around because that's a mercenary position. That's a good position. Look at Malcolm Jenkins. Look at Antoine Bethea. Look at Tyrann Mathieu. You know what I'm saying? Like, good safeties can kind of play until they don't want to play anymore. So you're able to stack those older veterans, guys like that, on the fact that you get Javon Holland, who is on his, I think is his third season this year. It was his second or third year. He's an ascending talent. He's one of these defensive backs that, you know, we kind of saw this usage with Jamal Adams, you know, and now we're seeing Antoine Winfield's getting blitzed a lot, Budda Baker's getting blitzed a lot, and then Javon Holland gets blitzed a lot. These guys are athletic, they're quick. I mean, in Javon Holland, if you watch him, I mean, if Javon Holland is blitzing you, you better be scared. He's a quick dude. Like, it's not, you know, it's not like they're just rushing some big bulky safety at you. Like, he looks like he knows what he's doing. So I love that he was able to grab Javon Holland here late. And maybe we got a Miami fan on our hands here because he went with Jerome Baker with that next pick. Let's go ahead and slide on down to team number 6. This was Billy's team. Billy was with me in Mobile this last week. We had a good time. Fellowship, family, brotherhood, football, blah, blah, blah. You guys know the bit. Let's go ahead and talk about how terrible Billy did. No, I'm just kidding. He had a pretty good draft overall. But I will say, so my favorite pick for Billy, I'll start with my favorite. My favorite pick by Billy was Trey Hendrickson. Getting Trey Hendrickson here in the middle of, what round is that, 9? That's 7. No, that's 7. Round 7. A lot of defensive line players that shouldn't have probably been drafted were taken ahead of Hendrickson. You know, and Billy just got a really good player there. I mean, he's a guy who's finished as one of the top defensive line players the last couple of years. You can count on him. He actually gets home on his pressures and on his quarterback hits. A little light in the tackle department, but when you actually get home, again, when you look at these production profiles in the index, you can see that different players score different ways. And every position doesn't do everything the same way. Every player doesn't have the same skill set. They're not even all asked to do the same things. That doesn't mean that you can't find a really great IDP fantasy player that somebody else is looking over because, I don't know, the powers that be may not like them quite as much. You know, I'll save the disparaging comments for those powers that be. And then my least favorite pick, though, for Billy, and it's not really like I hate it, but I think Frankie Louvu in the 4th round was just a little bit of it feels like a reach to me. He coming off the waiver wire this year. Yes, he was a hero. Yes, he was a great player. He had a lot of explosive, amazing plays. But I'm just feel like that's a little bit of a reach for a player like him, just coming off the 1 year of real production. Now, I know that his contract situation looks like it's set up to where he might continue to be that guy, which good for him. But I think that you probably could have waited a little bit on him. I could be wrong, though. So I thought that was a little bit of a high pick. Let's go ahead and talk about that number 7 team. Number 7 team. This is Kamikaze. What's up, dude? I know he's in the Twitter chat. A couple of these other guys are as well. But he had a really good draft as well. And I thought his best pick was his last pick, in my opinion. All the way down at the bottom there was Dayo Odeonigbo. I think I said his name right. Pass rusher for the Colts. They drafted him, I think it was in the 2nd round. Not last year, but 2 years ago, and he was injured. So he didn't really play his rookie season. Came onto the field this year, and he just, in that game where Kirk Cousins and the Vikings came back and won, the one player on defense who did everything he actually could to make that not happen, that didn't get those cheap interceptions, no, that was the Vikings that got the interceptions that were taken away. But anyway, it was Dayo. I mean, he was blowing plays up left, right, and center. And it's noticeable and notable because they took a pass rusher before him 2 years ago in the draft. I think it was Kwity Paye. And Yannick Ngakoue is still there. Correct me if I'm wrong. And DeForest Buckner's there. So we have some names that we have been watching. Guys we know can flash, guys we know can produce. And the guy who kept popping up, the guy who kept showing up was Dayo. If this is a moment right here where if you're still watching, which you should be, check your waiver wires for this guy if you're playing IDP Dynasty. I said this in a couple of Discords. I've been saying this for like over the last 2 months. Dayo should not be sitting on waiver wires. He's not worth a lot right now, probably. He's not in a lot of conversations right now, probably. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not in the right places, but I don't see his name come up a lot. Love to see that he got drafted here. And I think that he's a player that's going to continue to ascend and could potentially be one of the better defensive players on the Colts next year. You know, with Darius Leonard looking iffy, Buckner, I don't know. I don't know what their situation is going to look like. They're going to need a new defensive star to gas up. I mean, you know, the NFL runs through names. Shout out to Stephania Bell, who's kind of given us a little bit of that alpha when we were in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. She said, you know, one of the things IDP is kind of missing is the names. You know, you need to grow attached to the player. So if you want to find a deep sleeper and get that feeling, you know, you remember that feeling you got when you, I don't know, my feeling for players like that was when I took John Brown my first year playing fantasy football, or Martavis Bryant, 2015. Slide them into my flex spot, and I was just like, wow, like, these guys are good. Like, I found something, a special connection with the player before anyone else did. Great career for John Brown, less so for Martavis Bryant, but I'll never forget that. So maybe you know, somebody who stumbled across this channel trying to find that, you know, that IDP player that you can attach yourself to and be like, this is my guy. There he is. And then the least favorite pick for this team was Tremaine Edmonds. It's just, at this point, it's like I've tried. I've wrapped my head around who Tremaine Edmonds is, and I'm like, okay, he's really good, and we know that. Like, that's objectively fact. Tremaine Edmonds is good. But what happens when you get past good? Can he go from good to great in a fantasy sort of mentality type of way? Can we move outside of the narrative where the smart people tell him he's good? I see him play and he does good things. But can I see a robust score? Can I see some meaningful things happen on the field that are just like, ooh, there go that man. That's a bad man. Tremaine Edmonds doesn't do that, unfortunately. He does exactly what he's supposed to do, and it feels like he never does a lick more than that or a lick less than that. And there are just players that you could have drafted later, I think, than Tremaine Edmonds that could have given you a little more upside and probably the exact same sort of floor. I mean, I'm just kind of looking here, browsing. Drew Tranquil, for instance, he went to the team 102. He went, was it the same round? He went a round later, for instance. There's a player right there that I would have much rather had on my team than Tremaine Edmonds. Zaven Collins coming around to him as well, taking the next round. But if you thought he was going to be there, you know, you could have taken a DeForest Buckner, or you could have taken a Trey Hendrickson. You know, a lot of players went after him that I would have rather had than Tremaine Edmonds. So while Tremaine Edmonds is a good piece to any IDP team, any Dynasty team, he's a good piece. He's not the guy who's going to set any team over to take you to that next level, I don't think, in my opinion. So I didn't love that pick there in the 5th round. I would have liked to have seen somebody with a little more pop, a little more, what's my man Michael Scott say, a little more pep, a little more zing, or more get drafted there. But, you know, Tremaine Edmonds is still, I mean, we can't keep saying he's young. He's been young forever. But it wouldn't surprise me if when the Bills clean house, which I don't know if that's going to happen or not, it seems like Tremaine Edmonds is one of those guys he's not going to be a Bill for much longer. And it's not like, again, it's just he's good. He grades well. He does all the good stuff. Blah, 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 blah. But look at someone like Roquan Smith, who doesn't grade well. He was a total difference maker when he showed up on the Ravens team. Dude's catching interceptions, dude's getting sacks, dude's getting touchdowns, dude's making things happen. Tremaine Edmonds, not like that. Great linebacker in a different way. I actually commented on the boys on BDGE. Somebody was talking to when they were playing each other a couple of weeks ago, or they were just talking about linebackers in general. They were talking offense, but they came up. And I thought it was an interesting point to jump in, you know, and just be like, yeah, I mean, nobody's really wrong here. You know what I mean? Like, Roquan is a great linebacker in his own right, and Tremaine Edmonds is a great linebacker in his own right. But they're just different kinds of linebackers, the way they play, the way they're used, just the way things are. And I was like, and you can see that in look who has more big plays, look who takes more risks. You know what I mean? That's probably why Roquan Smith doesn't grade real well, because he's out here fucking winning games. Anywho, let us continue on our road here So we have team 108. This is a really good team. His best pick, in my opinion, was Nick Bolton, taking him in the first round, just not pussyfooting around it, just saying, I'm taking a young linebacker. I'm taking a guy who this time last year, if you put him on your team, could have got him a lot lower than this, but he's calling it like he sees it. Lots of runway in front of him, lots of tackles behind him, and just an all-around playmaker. I mean, dude caught a couple interceptions this year. I just think that he and Devin White back-to-back kind of makes sense to me. But my least favorite pick for this team was the Bobby Wagner pick, which was 3 picks after that. I just didn't really think it was necessary when you go Bolton and Brooks. There's just no reason to take Bobby Wagner at that point, you know. I kind of understand maybe wanting to load up on high tackle linebackers, etc. But again, this is a dynasty draft. What are we really looking at with Bobby Wagner? I mean, let's be total optimist, like super optimistic. 2 years, 3, super optimistic, 3. And let's say he's good. Let's say he's great. 2 of those. You know what I mean? Nick Bolton, we can have that exact conversation probably 2 or 3 times more in his career. So it's just a little bit, you know, to me. Could have taken somebody like, who was still on the board around then? Drew Tranquill, I bring him up a lot. Drew Tranquill, though, good player. Rashaan Evans was still around. You had, I would have taken Tremaine Edmonds over Bobby Wagner, just again the time horizon thing, but I wouldn't have taken him that high either. So I just didn't love the Bobby Wagner pick, but again, especially because he had Nick Bolton and he has Jordan Brooks as his first 2 picks and his first 2 linebackers. I mean, you really don't need to worry about linebacker for a while after that, unless one of those guys gets hurt, because they're not coming out of your starting lineup any week. You know what I mean? So moving on, team number 9. My favorite player to be drafted on this team was Big Q, Quinnen Williams. Getting Quinnen Williams all the way down here in the double-digit rounds. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Look at this guy over here. Well, I'm pointing like you guys can see it. Look at this guy, the one move after him, up at his 104. Dude took Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald, who had 5 sacks, 9 tackles for a loss, like 30 tackles or something. Went in the 4th round. Dude's 32 years old. And Big Q Williams. Big Q. With his 10 sacks, 12 sacks, I don't know, a lot of sacks. While getting hurt. Blowing up games. Bruh. This dude murdered that pick. And this is only his 2nd defensive line player. Well, I guess you can count. You gotta go up and count Gary. But I mean, overtly defensive line player, Josh Allen, a little sketchy, but Quinnen Williams, perfect pick. And then to get him the double-digit rounds is insane, which is just, you guys will hear me talk later on the channel, and I'll talk about it in the offseason. One of my favorite IDP draft strategies is I call it 0 DL, late round DL. You know what I mean? You can take Nick Bosa at number 2 and Chase Young in the 2nd, but why would you do that when people are going to let you take Quinnen Williams in the 10th? Stick with us, all right? We're going to help you win these leagues. Love that pick. I literally just can't say enough good things about that pick. That's probably the best pick of the whole draft. And then his worst pick, and this guy really didn't even have any bad picks. A really solid team, but I would say if he did have, I had either CJ Mosley or Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah as my least favorite picks for this team. Just because Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I'm just at this point, I don't want to be deep in the Browns linebacker business. There's a lot of guys. I've written a lot of articles. I've written a lot of tweets, done a lot of research. I've done a lot of updates in the index on Browns linebackers. Let me just see if I can name off the Browns linebackers that have been fantasy relevant in the past 700 days. All right, let's see here. We got Christian Kirksey was already gone. Sion Taki, Deion Luke Jones, the guy who was with the Colts. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking? He's like my dude. Oh my gosh. Anyway, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah also been relevant. There was another guy that they drafted. Oh, I can't remember his name. There was Mac Wilson, but he's on the Chiefs now. I'm running out of fingers already, and we haven't even really named a fantasy relevant guy. He's on the Patriots now. Anyway, that's a steep price brother. That's a steep price to pay for a linebacker who's still in a little bit of a nebulous situation. I understand the upside pick of it, though. And then the other player who I said that I put 2 on his because I don't hate it, but it's just like I'm a little bit antsy about it. And that was CJ Mosley. Still think he's got at least 2 years, 3 years of rock solid production in front of him. But when he went a little bit heavy on these upsidey kind of linebackers later, and just already had 2 linebackers. So I just feel like, drafting Devin White, Isaiah Simmons, CJ Mosley, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Jack Sanborn, and Baron Browning all in the same team at linebacker. I just think that the strategy there, while I don't hate it, I think those are good players. I think that this team didn't necessarily need to take both of those guys. Hopefully that kind of explains my thoughts there. Then team 10. My least favorite pick I've already talked about is Fred Warner. Doesn't make any sense. I can't believe that here in the year of our Lord 2023, Fred Warner is still being touted, talked about, looked at like a top IDP linebacker. It's just, does anyone do any research? Does anyone actually vet anything they see or hear on the internet? Because it's folly. It's absolute folly. This guy's team's totally fucking wrecked. Sorry about you, my guy. Hopefully you win the next draft. But Fred Warner and your first pick was a nightmare, and then you come back in the third and you take Aaron Donald. I mean, goodness gracious, what are we doing out here? You're already behind the 8 ball. The thing that's good for you though is if you take, if this was a real draft and you're like, oh man, Jordan hates my draft, what do I do? What you do is you hope that a lot of other people, are not as clever as you, haven't gotten this feedback, and you trade Fred Warner to somebody else in this league for, I don't know, like a Justin Simmons, he was drafted like the 10th round, or Jeffrey Simmons, and then I don't know who's like a Jordan Hicks. You know what I mean? Just get out of the Fred Warner business. No need to be in it. And again, his name, for whatever reason, still holds some modicum of elite value in dynasty circles. I don't know. It's weird. Really weird stuff going on out here, guys and gals. And then my favorite pick on this team, which again just is an incredible pick. He almost totally redeemed himself. Not quite, but came close. Was Kyle Duggar all the way down here in, what is that round? I'm sorry, I have to keep looking in. I need to open this up. I don't know why I haven't zoomed in. Pick 9.10 in the 9th round to get Kyle Duggar, basically the 10th round. Kyle Duggar had a prolific season this last year, has been moving up my ranks consistently. I actually got roasted on Twitter a couple of weeks ago because the first couple of years in the league, the typical Bill Belichick, you'll play special teams, you'll play a whole game, 100% snaps, and then the next game, you'll play like 2 snaps. So it was just like a weird thing where I wasn't really sure where to put Kyle Duggar, so I probably had him a little too low. And because I have him in a lot of my teams, I was very aware of the acuteness of how that felt to want to play Kyle Duggar, to know he's talented, and to just not see Bill put him out there. But this season, 78 total tackles for him. I mean, tons and tons of impact plays, 3 interceptions, 3 touchdowns. Kyle Duggar had 3 touchdowns this year. Put him on the field more, Bill. 8 pass deflections, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, a sack, 5 tackles for loss. That's a defensive weapon right there. 0.28 points per snap from the safety position. Last year, 0.29. A lot fewer impact plays in 2021. He had 15. This year, all the way up to 22. And then again, 3 of those being touchdowns, and then 3 of those being interceptions. Those are big point plays right there, all right? Those are some big point plays. Those don't know little pressures. Those aren't some deep metrics that nobody's ever heard of. Those are points scored for the Patriots by their defensive player. Those are interceptions. The ball's taken away from the defense or the offense by the defensive player. Meaningful shit. All right, so that's a great pick. You totally redeemed yourself there, my guy, taking Kyle Duggar after almost completely destroying your team with Fred Warner. So now that we've gone over all these teams, I've kind of talked about them. There's like I've been ranting and raving. Also, there's a lot of people watching, but nobody's commenting. I would love to hear comments, see comments from my peoples out there. But let's go ahead and tell you who I thought the best team was and who I thought the worst team was. All right. So the team that I thought was the actual best of this group ends up being team number 8. Team 8 went Nick Bolton, Jordan Brooks, Alex Highsmith, Bobby Wagner, Matt Judon, Jamal Adams, Harold Landry, Josie Jewell, Zadarius Smith, Christian Wilkins, Kwity Paye. Oh, I can't see this. I gotta zoom in. Julian Love, and then Carl Joseph. That's a banger of an IDP team. That's an absolute banger of a team. You know, not a lot of flashy names necessarily. A lot of kind of guys that maybe people are kind of faded off of. Harold Landry, great pick. Jamal Adams, great value pick. Even Matt Judon, a little older, but 2 of his best seasons in IDP have been the last 2 years since he's been on the Patriots. Doesn't look like he's really going to go anywhere. Alex Highsmith, an ascending talent. I just saw something from Steelers Twitter. He's like the 4th or 5th most sacks of any Steelers player in their first 3 seasons, behind only like TJ Watt and a couple of like super stud OG gods. So Alex Highsmith put a video about him on the channel like 2 years ago. It was a little early, but he blew up this year. Love that for team number 8. So Windler 97, your team is my favorite team of this group. Got a group of straight killers over there. And then this is the one I don't. And then again, this is my least favorite team. This is an opinion. This is not an attack on you or your livelihood or how you choose to draft. This is just my opinion on a team that I think was not very good. Pardon me. And that's team 10. You know, your first pick is Fred Warner. Don't love that. Derwin James, good pick there. Buda Baker, you know, those are both high quality players with great name value that's going to hold out for a while. And then you go get Aaron Donald, who's already talked about retirement. I think best case scenario, absolute best case scenario, is he plays one more year like this. And I'm saying best case. He plays one more year, and then he does like an Ndamukong Suh thing where he like goes on shows and like works on becoming like a business leadery type person. And then for the next like 2 or 3 years, he like low key just like shows up on teams that are about to go into the playoffs. That's what I think best case scenario is. Worst case scenario is he actually just like, you know, gets hurt this offseason or actually calls it quits. He and Sean McVay get in a fight. I don't know. But he's already kind of, he's got the accolades already. He's got them all. I mean, there are no more accolades you can really add as Aaron Donald. So at this point, you know, I think that was a tough pick. Bobby Okereke, I think he'll be in the league for a while, but again, he's a little bit more of a journeyman type of guy. Not really sure that I would put my faith in him as my linebacker too. Then we got Jalen Phillips, linebacker, but truly a defensive lineman for the Dolphins. Trayvon Walker, not sure how I feel. I really don't like that. Ojulari, like that pick. Kyle Duggar, like that pick. Then we have Giovanni Diablo, who has the dual tag. Love to see that. Levante David, a little old. Shaq Thompson, I think that was a good value. Then Kwity Paye, he's going to be fine to put in. But again, your defensive line players on this team are Aaron Donald, Kwity Paye, 2 defensive tackles, 1 on the way out of the league, 1 great season, great player, but it's a very much more kind of, he's going to be up and down. Let's just put it that way. And then as your defensive line players, you have Trayvon Walker, don't love that. Azeez Ojulari, don't love it. And then Jalen Phillips, don't love it. Now, just because I don't love it doesn't mean it's not going to work out. All 3 of those guys in particular have quite a bit of time horizon ahead of them. They have the good pedigree, and they can continue to ascend, so I don't want to poo-poo it too much. But just out of this group of players, that was the team that I didn't like the most. So team 10, if you're in the next draft, hopefully we can get those grades up. And then my man over at 108, Windler, your team was hot. I love that. And hopefully I'll get in one of these, you know, mocks soon. And when I get in there, you know, obviously I'll grade my team the best because it will be the best because I get to grade my own work. All right. Sorry for not commenting. I'm working, multitasking, listening. Once again, this is great stuff. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, you all don't have to comment. And, you know, I'm just want y'all to know I'm here. If you do have specific questions, I would, you know, this is a good time to get those in. Just because I did, you know, it's kind of a free form show. Not going to super deep dive into data. I'm not going to talk about rankings. I just wanted to go over this mock draft because Mace did this. And we're going to do this. We're going to try to get a mock draft of some sort up on the channel once a week. Not really sure how I'm going to do like mock draft shows where we go through and do the mock and talk about it. I feel like a lot of people do that, and that has value and all that. And we'll probably do one sometime. But I like this format where the draft is already done. We've had a few days to look at it, talk to mates about it, sent the screenshots to the group chats and stuff, and just really kind of picked it apart, had some time to think about it. And, it'll be interesting to see how these draft boards mature, evolve, change over the next few weeks. So if you are, 45 minutes in, I'm saying this, but if you're new to IDP fantasy football, don't be a stranger, and you don't have to play like you're new. We are going to set you up to be a fucking old veteran. Go in there and just beat the brakes off all these other motherfuckers. There's my swear word for the day. Gotta get a swear jar out here. All right. If there are any Dynasty questions, trade questions, whatever, this is the time to hit me with them. I'm going to give you all 2-3 more minutes. Just kind of poke around, see what's up. Yeah, you're all good, Aaron. Actually, real quick, I'm just going to run. How'd the music go? I kind of like the music in the background. I'm not going to lie to you. You know what I mean? It's better than do this. All right, well, I'll give you all a minute or two to, if you have any questions, think about them, throw them in here. If not, appreciate you. We will have another show. Offensive points will go up soon. I think it goes up tomorrow. Another Dynasty show will go up later this week. I just posted a Dynasty show yesterday, 30 minutes talking about the market in general, basically players on offense that I think people are too high or too low on, or this is a moment. This is a buy moment or a sell moment in Dynasty, depending on how you view them. And the market views them one way. I view them another way. Some of them a little differently. Talk about how I got there. Oh, we got some comments. Love it, love it, love it. Music is a vibe. All right, bet. I'm turning it back on. Of course, the second I turned it off, I got 3 comments. People are like, his voice is awful. Pedro Decker, hey friend, I was the number 9 team. I tried to grab some different players than usually get. Number 9. Let's take a peek at number 9 again. Yeah, I liked your team. I mean, getting Jalen Petrie, love that for you. You're obviously taking a shot there, coming off the incredible season that he had. But I'm one of these guys too, where I try not to. It's so easy. The easy answer is always good players are just going to get worse. He's just going to regress. Oh, he was good? Fuck him. He'll regress. Oh, that player, he was incredible? Yeah, he's garbage. Not going to be good again. That's the reductive, easy, top of funnel fantasy person answer. Okay? They did it with Hassan Reddick. They did it with Shaq Barrett. They did it with Jamal Adams. They're kind of right with him because he got hurt, but I won't go into that. Just going to regress. He's just not going to be very good. But it's funny because then you go to other players, and these players that the narrative around has just never changed. Bobby Wagner, he'll never regress. Kyle Pitts, I mean, even though he had the best tight end rookie season ever, according to whatever fucking metrics they were, there was not a single person that said he's going to regress this next year, which he did massively. So it's just funny when we decide what we want to apply to certain players. Jalen Petrie, he's going to regress. Or he might not. Maybe he doesn't have 140 whatever tackles. So what? Minus 10 tackles, plus 2 interceptions. Suck it. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of things can happen out there. So I like that, Pedro. Good for you, my guy. Other players on your team that I like. I think Rashawn Gary was big in the conversation early in the offseason or early in the season, and has definitely dipped off in the conversation. As you can see here, you got him, what is that round? I get my eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5th round, 6th round. That's a good spot to get a guy like Rashawn Gary, especially since he's now the primary pass rusher on that team, and ascending talent. Again, some of these guys, pass rushers, tight ends, players take time to develop in the NFL. I mean, look at Myles Garrett, finally has that year of an elite IDP. Got some more questions here. What do you think about buying Jordan Brooks? Scared of ACL or not really? I still think he's a buy. To lead the league in tackles, or was it second most tackles he had last season. Talented. He's a talented player. I don't think that there's a reason not to buy. Don't overpay. I'm going to see what I have him at here in the index as a pay. I think I probably still have him in here as a first. And I know he's in my tier 1 guys. Jordan Brooks, 25 years old, a little older than I thought. I have him as a hold right now. Only 11 impact plays last year. Let's take a peek at what he had this year real fast. I should be bringing this up for y'all on the screen, but I'm holding out because I want y'all to buy the index. 0.29 points per snap this year. He played 1,000 snaps. I'm sorry. Oh no, that's inaccurate. Why is this production profile old? This is only 2021. Ah! Let me see if this one's right. Or updated. They're all right. Updated. What year is this? Huh, I need to update his production profile. That's my bad. But overall, as far as a buy or a sell, I don't know if I would buy him. I have him as a hold, like I said, right now. And I have his value is an estimated second plus. So if you want to shoot out a second plus, if you got a couple of seconds laying around for this year, somebody gets hungry, I would poke around, look into that. Yeah, ACL tears, I mean, he tore it late in the season, but guys tear their ACLs, you know, pretty, I mean, it's not like a common thing, but it's a fairly common sports injury. I mean, he still had 161 tackles this year, 5 pass deflections. Yeah. I think hold is good. Buy actually might be a smart move at this point. It might be a buy moment just because of the injury late in the season. Somebody won't want to hold on to him. And then, or Greenlaw is my LB3. I think as an LB3, Greenlaw's good. I think that's a good spot for him, LB3. I don't want to trust any linebacker from the 49ers to be my linebacker 1. Period. No bleeping way. Yeah, this music is a vibe. All right, well, if you all want to see the index, the premium tiered rankings for Dynasty, for IDP, and the best ball rankings, which the best ball rankings are getting a massive sweep. They've already had 2 since the season ended. Getting one more massive sweep before I drop some info. And actually, I was wrong. When I said I was doing a Dynasty show on Friday, I lied. I flip-flop. Dynasty show came out yesterday. Best ball show is coming out on Friday. Going to break down or show or talk about early values and targets for way too early best ball. Because they're dropping their first best ball tournament this offseason, and I think it drops tomorrow or the next day, and that's where we live, baby. That's where we make our bread. So gonna get those checked out or get those updated. But if you want to get access to those, become a member of the channel. There's a link in the description, or you can join the Patreon and get access to all of this stuff.
Looking for the ultimate edge in fantasy football? The Ultimate Fantasy Index is finally here. The Ultimate Fantasy Index features the Ultimate Dynasty Index, the Ultimate IDP Index, and the Ultimate Best Ball Index. Each index features tiered rankings that are updated daily, which means you'll have a clear understanding of not only who the top players are, but also who the next best options are. More fun, more football, more fantasy for the culture. Join the IDP Army and start winning your leagues today.
All right, y'all. That's everything for me for today. Support the channel. We would love that. Support the podcast. Go down to links in the description. Subscribe to the podcast feeds. We have 2. Subscribe to both. We appreciate that. We have so much content. We love fantasy football. We love the NFL. We love the NFL draft. We love best ball. We love Dynasty. And we love you. So until next time, keep it real.